What's up, guys? Jason up. New 80s Revolution. Here in the cave of the Holiday Inn in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Just kind of wrapping up the evening. There will be a vintage horror night included in this 2-day filming excursion. I just checked out I had some dinner tonight at Chili's after I got here. And Chili's isn't great. They're not great. So then I came back to the hotel and I was kind of done. And I went down to the hotel bar that I love doing when I go to Niagara Falls Comic Con. The Falls View Marriott is like 5 stars for me, anyways. The bar, the view, it's incredible. The Holiday Inn Glen Burnie, Maryland hotel bar is drizzling. It's horrible. $7 drafts, no appetizers, no bar food, just straight up entrees. Right? Overpriced entrees, but whatever. So I decided, you know what? Party night is tomorrow with the Brian's Wrestling Collection Live crew and whoever we hang out with at the after party. So I figured, let's just come to the room. Let's get some good old relaxation, Nobody here. Big difference between loneliness and alone, ladies and gentlemen. I am alone, and I am embracing it. All right, let's do Wrestling with the Past, right? Let's just do that. Different backdrop, right? Kind of a boring backdrop. I'm sorry about that. But we're on location, so we're going to do a Wrestling with the Past, from a very special report. This is a special report, a special edition Wrestling with the Past. All right, so we are up to the second week in December. We start things off with Maple Leaf Wrestling 1984. Junkyard Dog taking on No Class Bobby Bass. And JYD is announced as being from Louisiana instead of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, does that mean anything to anybody? No. Does it mean something to me? Yes. Why? Because I'm a dork. And Junkyard Dog was never announced from New Orleans, even though that's where he got his stardom and his fame. And the Who Dat, JYD or Who Dat Dog, that where he began. And when he was in the WWF, he was always announced from Charlotte, North Carolina. And now he's announced from Louisiana. Trust me, I have a life, right? I just notice these things. And as I'm sitting this way, I realize that I have like the belly of Eddie Kingston. So I'm going to sit up a little straighter, right? Okay. All right. Look, a good enhancement worker makes for a good match, and Bobby Bass is not an enhancement worker. He's not a jobber. He's got a great history in wrestling, and he did some time with the WWF, mainly in Canada, and has a good match with the Junkyard Dog. JYD wins with a football tackle instead of the power slam thump, and that's just another fun little thing I noticed. And again, as I'm watching these shows and thinking of stuff to say to you guys, I'm a little bit more zoned into these things. So I get to observe little things like JYD being announced from Louisiana, and he's winning with a football tackle versus a thump power slam. We've got Greg Valentine taking on Mohammed Saad. Just your standard Greg Valentine win. The Moondogs, one of my favorite tag teams, take on a silent Brian McNee, who I just love. I just love seeing him. As I've mentioned on other wrestling with the past. Silent Brian was legitimately what they used to call back in the day mute. He could not hear or speak, and therefore they give him the moniker of Silent Brian Mackney. And so he teams with Canadian staple Nick DiCarlo, and we got a total domination by the Moondogs, which was nice to see. Again, the more I watch of this stuff, the more I become a fan of the Moondogs, right? I love them. Bret Hart. Bret Hart takes on Gino Carabello. Couple of things here. Bret Hart is still not a perfect wrestler yet, right? He becomes a perfect wrestler soon, around 87 or so. But he's not yet perfect. He's still just, Bret Hart, and there, it's not the Bret Hart that we used to. More importantly, he has dry hair. Yeah, that's right. Bret Hart does not have the long, straggly, greasy hair that we have grown to know and love. No, he has dry, puffy hair. Right? What mine is going to look like in, you ready for this? What my hair is going to look like in like a month. Right? Look at this. It's growing. We're at where are we? May? So we're coming up on the 6th month of hair growth. Yeah. There's a little unexpected segue. The 6th month of hair growth, and this is what we got. All right. Then we have Blackjack BBQ. Blackjack's BBQ, of course, hosted by Blackjack Mulligan. He's got Jimmy Snuka and the Tonga Kid. And, if that's not a contrast in culture, in personalities, we've got the grizzled, redneck sort of Blackjack Mulligan interviewing a couple of island boys. And in fact, Blackjack Mulligan does talk about what it was like to train in the islands and how pretty were the ladies in the islands, wonders Blackjack Mulligan. And then he wanted to know how much fishing and hunting Snuka and Tonga did. And then he asked, when are they going to teach him to play the war drums? So, So the Texan wants to know from the Islanders, from Tonga Kid and Jimmy Snuka, how the ladies are, and when is he going to learn to play the war drums? And then Jimmy Snuka jumps in and says something about where there's drums, there's feelings, brother. And Blackjack Mulligan's like, all right. Oh, I love it. Iron Sheik takes on Frank Marconi. You know what happens there. We've got a rare main event on Maple Leaf Wrestling. That's not usually a thing. Not at all. But this one is Tony Atlas taking on the Spoiler. So the Spoiler is still hanging around. I don't think he's long for the WWF. And like I've mentioned in previous episodes, Sergeant Slaughter, Dr. D. David Schultz, Mr. Fuji as a wrestler, add the Spoiler to it. They're not long. They're almost done. Pretty much the whole match was Tony Atlas going after the mask of the Spoiler. And towards the end, he was going after the mask, and Lou Albano pulled the Spoiler out. And, Tony Atlas followed, and they brawled outside, and we got your 4-minute double count out. No big deal, because Tony Atlas just had to get that mask off. Championship Wrestling from 12/8. Now, here's an interesting deal. These DVDs are so old. I probably got this set in 2004, maybe. Yeah, probably about 2003, 2004. The first year that I moved into my house, I got these, and I've been there since I'm like 2004. We'll say let's just estimate 2004, and they have for the most part just sat in little plastic sleeves in boxes for years until and some have not. Anything after 85, WWF has not been viewed. I have literally not seen it since I bought it 18 years ago. Right. That's absurd. So I didn't know that my Championship Wrestling 12-8 was incomplete. It was like the last 20 minutes of Championship Wrestling 12-8. And I could go back and I could find it or I could Google the results, but I'm not going to do that. Wrestling with the Past is, how it presented itself to me. And I have an incomplete show. So, Championship Wrestling 12-8, the card is joined in progress with Tito Santana taking on a guy named Terry Mantum. Tito wins actually with the forearm off the second rope, which was more devastating looking than the regular flying forearm. I love that. Bruno and Vince are talking about how Piper is upset that he's not getting an award from the WWF at the late December MSG show. Okay, so you've seen me talk about how it's coming, right? The momentum towards WrestleMania is building. The momentum towards MTV and the war to settle the score is building. So the foundation is laid with Cyndi Lauper getting an award from the WWF. She then repays that by giving the WWF her gold record, right? This is all supposed to take place at MSG. And now we're hearing from Roddy Piper a few weeks prior to the event saying how upset he is that he should be getting an award. I love this. I didn't see it because it's not on my disc, but I assume I'll see it in the next couple weeks. During the replay of the, because I've only got Tito Santana versus Terry Mantum here. During the replay where they go to instant replay, the Ray Parker Jr. Ghostbusters movie music is playing over the replay. That's the replay music. And as I was sitting there watching this, I was like, oh, wow. How excited would a kid be? Like it's not like today where if you want to hear a song, you just type it into YouTube or, you certainly don't have to listen to the radio for 7 hours or 4 days before you hear a particular song that you want to hear. And how often was an 8-year-old listening to the music or in their car or whatever? How often would you get the radio a day? So if you were excited about the Ghostbusters song, this was pretty cool that they would play the Ghostbusters music over the replay. Again, it's the little things that I look at that go, wow, that would have been really exciting as a kid. All right, we've got another Don Morocco, Mr. Fuji update in Hawaii, so they are coming back. And then the last match that I have on the card is Terry Gibbs and R.T. Reynolds, of course, who's Corporal Kirshner in a couple of years, take on Jimmy Snuka and Tonga Kid. So Snuka and Tonga have been teaming up all over regular WWF TV. Of course, they get the win here. No shenanigans, no interference or anything like that. Just a straight up Snuka Tonga win. All right, so then we move on to the final card of the month, or the review here. And I got to look it up. I didn't write the date down. It's the Meadowlands, and I would like to tell you the date. I believe it's the week. Let's see. I'm sorry about this. I didn't write down the date. It's December 10th. Okay. So it's the Meadowlands House Show, December 10th. So that basically means we've got... I mean, look, if the dates are 100% correct, this means that house show aired on a Monday, right? Because we got Maple Leaf Gardens and Championship Wrestling on 12/8, And the Meadowlands house show aired on Madison Square Garden Network on Monday, December 10th. Or it was live on December 10th. Probably didn't air. Yeah, it probably didn't air on December 10th. That's the December 10th is the actual date of the house show. So I assume it probably aired a week later or so. Okay, anyways, we've got Playboy Buddy Rose taking on Jose Luis Rivera. Gorilla Monsoon and Howard Finkel are doing commentary, of all things. Howard Finkel doing commentary while Gary Michael Capetta is the ring announcer. One and only time, I believe, that I've ever seen Fink as a commentator. And he's fine, but even as an adult, it kind of messed with me a little bit because he was doing all this commentating and he was a good guy commentator and he knew ins and outs and moves and stuff. And I would think that as a kid, I would be confused by that because he's just the guy that stands in the ring and reads off a card and announces the wrestlers. How does he know all this stuff? That's just weird. Anyway, great voice, obviously, with Howard Finkel, but just not right. Him as a commentator just doesn't feel right. He's got that ring announcer voice that he's scaling down for commentating, and it's weird. Playboy Buddy Rose goes out to the crowd and stands near the barrier and has a woman in the crowd brush his hair. Now, I don't know if she was put there but Buddy Rose went out to the crowd with a brush, found a woman, gave it to her, and she brushed his hair. And that was awesome. Playboy Buddy Rose wins. Here's an interesting one. Steve Lombardi, right, the future Brooklyn Brawler, is taking on Johnny V. Johnny Valiant. So here again, for the second show we've done, we've got a manager in the wrestler role, right? Bobby Heenan was on the MSG card last, and now Johnny V is wrestling. We got Mr. Fuji still doing wrestling spots, and now Johnny V. Johnny V, I can safely add to my list of not so favorite people in the WWF. I don't like Johnny V. He's on my least favorite wrestling personality list. And again, I hate managers as wrestlers because they have to be tough guys when they're wrestling. They have to, have a ton of offense. And they have to be brave. But as managers, they're weak and cowardly and retreating, right? I want to say retreatful, but I don't think that's a word. But they retreat, right, in fear. But as a wrestler, they've got courage. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. They didn't. They could have filled that spot with somebody else. We have my first appearance of George Wells. George Wells is taking on Charlie Fulton. So this is, I assume, the first appearance of George Wells. All I know George Wells from is WrestleMania 2, getting the snake around his neck, and then coughing up really gross, foamy white stuff out of his mouth. Yep, that's it. Because I've got such a weak stomach, stuff like that just really nauseates me. And if I think about it too long, I'll just get sick. But that's all I know George Wells from, was him, puking up something with the snake around his neck. And now he beats Charlie Fulton with the football tackle, of course. I think George Wells is a former Canadian football player. Ken Patera versus what I assume to be the debuting Jim Powers. Jim Powers from the future Young Stallions with Paul Roma. Jim Powers is just this pretty boy with the feathery hair and just a look. He's probably drove all the ladies wild back then. And Patera kills him with the swinging neck breaker. And Powers almost does a stretcher job. They really have to help him out of the ring. But I love Gorilla Monsoon saying that so Ken Patera has that I don't know, it's like a jacket cape sort of thing that you can spread out, and it's got big whatever. And Gorilla Monsoon said that was a $3,000 outfit. When I think in reality, it's like maybe 40 or $50, with some weird sequins on it, whatever those things are, the like stripper, bedazzled kind of stuff, right? $3,000, and that's not even the cheapest outfit that Gorilla talks about. Later on, he talks about I think a $5,000 robe that John Studd has. But anyway, Patera overpowers with the swinging neck breaker, which is basically the full Nelson, and then swings him around. The second manager on the card tonight, Bobby Heenan, takes on SD Jones. Like, what on earth? Like, who didn't show? I guess the Heenan SD match makes sense because they are referencing the Andre haircut match from earlier, like a few weeks earlier. They are referencing that, so they're caught up with that. So I guess it makes sense that SD is facing Andre because SD is mimicking, like we talked about last time, the haircut with the scissors motion, and Bobby Heenan's laughing and whatever. SD Jones absolutely murders Heenan for most of the match, and it is fantastic because SD Jones gets to showcase his actual talent. Bobby Heenan is just probably top 5 wrestling personalities of all time, and is fantastic as a manager and as a wrestler. And then of course he gets like the cheap roll up, hook the tights win, and then like rolls under the bottom rope and gets the heck out of there. I love it. I loved watching SD Jones actually be like, a main event quality. He's so pumped up for this match because it's all SD Jones's offense for 95% of the match. But weird, 2 managers in the on the card. Velvet McIntyre and Desiree Peterson take on Penny Mitchell and Peggy Patterson for the WWF Women's titles. Honestly, I skipped it. I know I have a job to do here, and that's very immature of me, very non-professional of me. But I skipped it. I wasn't watching this match. And like as I was fast forwarding, it was taking. I think this was probably like a 17-minute match, and I wasn't gonna watch it. I just wasn't. It's just horrible. Okay, then we've got. What do we got? We got Junkyard Dog versus Paul Orndorff. Now this is another very LJN match. Very LJN. What was the last one? Beefcake versus JYD? Yeah, I think so. And now we've got Orndorff versus JYD. And again, just so... I had that match a million times as a kid. Orndorff and JYD. Ridiculous amount of stalling in this match from Orndorff. More than usual for him. And it's infuriating the crowd. And it's infuriating JYD. And Heenan keeps pulling Orndorff aside and talking to him and whispering to him. And then Orndorff gets ready to lock up. And then he backs off. And I love it. I hate it and I love it. Because I'm watching it going, oh my God, just let's go. Okay. Yeah, so this was the best JYD match I've ever seen. I'm telling you. This was the best JYD. This was a fantastic match. 12-10, WWF Meadowlands, 1984, Junkyard Dog versus Paul Orndorff. Go find it somewhere. It's a great match. It's Junkyard Dog acting like tough guy, Mid-South JYD. It's Paul Orndorff just being awesome. It's Bobby Heenan being awesome. And it's a great match. And guess what? So think about this. In 1984, December 1984, 3 months before WrestleMania, Okay, who do you expect to win this match? Right? You either expect a count out, you expect a DQ, you expect Orndorff to win with his feet on the ropes, but no indeed, Junkyard Dog gets a clean small package pinfall. Blew my mind. I was legitimately shocked about the outcome of this match. And then in true 80s wrestling fashion, they do it right. They do it so right. After the pinfall, Paul Orndorff jumps up and beats the heck out of Junkyard Dog with a chair. And bloodies him. I've never seen Junkyard Dog blade before, and he does, and it's for a post-match beatdown. And Paul Orndorff walks out of the arena the winner, even though he lost. And his heel heat is still there, his push is still there, his WrestleMania appearance is still there, and Junkyard Dog is still there because he got the win. And Junkyard Dog challenges for Greg Valentine's Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, and in December he beats Paul Orndorff. Right? It's just right. It's just good. It's good, proper wrestling writing, and I love it. Okay, then we've got a very strange live Piper's Pit. Now the guest, so this is where they bring out the red checkered rug and they put it in the ring, and Piper's there, and Junkyard Dog is supposed to be the guest, but in the previous match he gets, almost stretchered out. So we've got Orndorff we got Piper and Orton in the ring stalling big time, and they're basically running they're basically emceeing an event where they're trying to fill time. They're working the crowd. They're running down Baltimore. They bring in two random people who, again, I don't know if they were plants or if they were actual fans that they asked if they wanted to do this, but they're just they just got two audience members. They're just asking them random questions. It's not good. And then Salvatore Bellomo comes out for some reason. Salvatore Bellomo comes out and says that he's very upset that Paul Orndorff hurt his friend Junkyard Dog, and he can't come out here because he's getting stitched up, and so Salvatore Bellomo is going to come out. Well, that brings out Paul Orndorff, right? So now you got the three of them bullying Salvatore Bellomo. They basically back him into a corner. All three of them are gonna jump him, and lo and behold, JYD comes out, overly bandaged. Right? Go watch this Piper's Pit, this live Piper's Pit. JYD has, you know what it is. It's just he's just got a little flick there on his head. But he comes out looking like he got his, head blown off at close range because he's got a bandage wrapped all around his head, 500 times, down around his neck, around his shoulder. I mean, and then a little spot of blood on it. It's a little overkill, but it's fun to see. He comes out, clears the ring, okay, and then we've got Bellomo and JYD hugging in the ring. I don't know if maybe next month that leads to a goofy tag team between the two or whatever, but that felt so big. That Piper's Pit with the crowd, and they're littering the crowd. They're littering the ring. The crowd is dumping all the garbage in the ring, and for the first time I've ever seen, Piper acknowledges the litter being thrown in the ring by talking about if the Orioles pitchers, Meadowlands, sorry, if the Mets, I think, New Jersey Meadowlands, I think he referenced the Mets. If the Mets pitchers were as good as they were, they wouldn't be in last place, something like that. I don't know. It was December, so there's no baseball. Yeah, there is. Wait. No, there isn't. I don't know what I'm talking about. But he called out the throws. Anyway. Okay, then we go Orton versus Snuka. Okay. So after that Piper's Pit, we got Cowboy Bob Orton out. He's taking on Jimmy Snuka. And for some reason, Jimmy Snuka comes out wearing a loincloth. No, not a loincloth, like a singlet. Right? Remember when he came back in 89 or something? He wore this one piece. He came out wearing that. And then he took it off for the match. So there's a lot of weird stuff happening in the Meadowlands. Him versus Orton is a pretty quick brawl that results in a double count out. No big deal. Looks like they're just trying to speed it up here a little bit. Then we got Brutus Beefcake versus Bellomo. Again, the same deal, kind of a quick match to get to the main event, which is Hogan. Hogan's back. Hulk Hogan. I have not seen him for like a month or two even on these cards. Hulk Hogan is taking on Big John Studd. Awesome stuff. Hogan is bloodied early, and you see it. He's down around the announce table. I think he gets either rammed into the announce table or rammed into the post, and the camera is right there, and you just see Hogan unwrapping his wrist tape, and he's about to get it on right there in front of Gorilla and Howard Finkel. This part, Big John Studd was a very slammable person. Okay, and obviously I sit here at 220 svelte pounds, and not as strong as I ever was. So I'm not saying that I could slam Big John Studd, but Big John Studd was easy to slam. Okay, he was not. Guys get slammed that big all the time, even back then. So they were really working the Big John Studd can't be slammed thing. The guy's like 340 pounds. He can be slammed. In fact, he can very easily be slammed by most guys on the roster. But in the beginning of the match, Hulk Hogan has like 4 failed slam attempts on Studd where he can't get him up. And I was starting to be like, come on, this is silly. Especially for what happens in a minute here. 12, 13 minutes into the match, Hogan's bloodied, beat up, tired. He slams Big John Studd with ease outside the ring. Outside the ring, on the concrete floor. With ease, ladies and gentlemen. Ease. And then the bell rings. Right? The bell rings. So I'm like, was this a slam match and I didn't know? Oh, a double count out, right? No. Hogan wins by count out. But they were both outside the ring. Hogan, I'd have to go back and watch it, but Hogan doesn't get back in the ring. So that's why I thought it was a slam match. Of course, Gorilla makes sure that we know that the $10,000 or $15,000 is not on the line. Hogan wins by count out. He's in the ring. He's acting angry, even though he won by count out. And he lifts Dick Worley, the referee, up over his head and just holds him there for a minute. The crowd's going nuts. They think he's going to slam Dick Worley. He puts him down, and Dick Worley, does this weird I'm dizzy dance and gets out of the ring. What the heck is going on in the Meadowlands? It's weird. So anyway, Hogan's back from Japan, I assume. He wins by countout over Big John Studd. Slams with ease after being beaten up the whole match. Can't slam him when he's fresh in the beginning. No, indeed, he can't do that. But he can slam him when he's exhausted and bloody. Okay. So that's the Meadowlands. And that's, week 2 or so of December? Anyway, it's the second week of our show. And that's it. We went long here, 34 minutes. This is so fun. WrestleMania is coming. War to Settle the Score is coming. Randy Macho Man Savage comes in 85. You're welcome, D-Mod. And anyway, that's it. We'll see y'all again. Hope you enjoyed the Holiday Inn backdrop. I know I sure am. Talk to you later. Good night now.